Scientists weren't exactly sure what group of animals hallucigenia even belonged to.
Researchers suggest that with the help of their frontal appendages, Anomalocaris could hold and swing the victim from side to side.
Imagine a sea monster so small yet terrifying that it makes today's great white sharks look tame. Well, get ready to meet the original sea terror, as scientists have just discovered the prehistoric beast, Anomalocaris. With its razor-sharp claws and a buzzsaw-like mouth, this apex predator reigned over the ancient waters.
With some even suggesting that given its odd appearance, it might actually be part of another animal.
So, stay tuned as I reveal everything you need to know about this carnivorous creature, along with some other crazy discoveries. Number 1, a monster from the depths. Scientists have just unearthed the fossil remains of a mysterious sea creature in the Burgess Shale of Canada. Upon discovery, it was misidentified as scientists had never seen anything like it. It closely resembled a shrimp, but after some more research, they realized these remains belong to the Anomalocaris canadensis. And don't be fooled by appearance. This abnormal-looking shrimp might be small, but it was actually the first apex predator.
They were quite a diverse group of forms that we interpret as being predators
Of that time. It belonged to the Cambrian period, nearly 500 million years ago, when our Earth had never seen a predator like it. Growing up to nearly 3 feet long, the Anomalocaris canadensis looked like a nightmare. It had a fearsome circular mouth full of sharp metal plates, looking exactly like a buzzsaw. I mean, if this thing still existed today, you'd never see me near a body of water. But yeah, it was a formidable predator at the very top of the food chain, with no known rival. What's interesting is the first fossils discovered were actually fragmented.
Like and subscribe right now, and you'll have amazing luck for the rest of the week.
Leading scientists to believe it was an animal from a different species. And considering how it was discovered in the Rockies, an area famous for well-preserved fossils, it was misclassified. It was only after time did they realize all these fragmented fossils actually belong to one creature, the Anomalocaris canadensis. But this misclassification has been going on for quite some time. Since it seemed like a combination of jellyfish and shrimp, it never crossed anyone's mind that this could just be one creature. Whenever someone dug up a fossil, the mouth looked like a jellyfish, whereas the appendages were mistaken for a shrimp. And honestly, I kind of wish it stayed that way, because looking at it makes me tremble with fear. It's tiny, but at the same time, it reminds just how unforgiving and terrifying sea creatures can be. But the puzzle has finally been solved, and now we know that these remains belong to a single, formidable, extraordinary creature. This carnivorous creature hunted smaller arthropods and trilobites, and the fact that it was the biggest marine creature of that time made it an uncontested king of the ocean. It had massive compound eyes, giving it exceptional vision, allowing it to spot prey barely visible to the naked eye. And what made this creature so hardcore back then was its crazy mouth structure. You could almost call it a floating buzzsaw, as it could easily crush hard shells of its prey, making it the top predator in Cambrian Sea. But let's talk a bit more about the terrifying mouthpiece. Number 2, spiny frontal attachment. I swear, this looks like a bizarre upgrade. You know, when you're playing a game and have the latest weapon with no upgrade to your armor, that's what this dangerous creature looked like. And the reason I mention no upgrade to armor is that at the end of the day, it's just a massive shrimp. Even its name, Anomalocaris canadensis, means abnormal shrimp. But either way, the fact that it could grasp prey and literally pull it in towards its terrifying circular mouth is just horrendous. I can't even imagine anything escaping this creature's deadly bite. But that's not at all. Despite looking dense and hard, the mouthpiece was actually quite flexible, allowing it to reach out and kill unsuspecting prey. Just imagine being a tiny arthropod, excited to be alive in the Cambrian period, when a shrimp from hell scoops you in and crushes you with a saw-like mouth. It's like all the sea creatures were living in the Anomalocaris canadensis' world. But yeah, its cone-like mouth lined with razor-sharp teeth was probably its most terrifying feature ever. And frankly speaking, it's like evolution was playing a prank on all the other marine life. They had hard shells and everything needed to protect their tiny bodies. But what do you know? A creature capable of crushing them is just floating around in the sea. And while the Anomalocaris canadensis was nothing compared to most of the apex sea predators that followed it, it was, without a doubt, a monster of the Cambrian period. Number 3. Compound eyes. Guess what, people? It turns out these mad shrimp's eyes each had nearly thousands of lenses. I mean, that's more terrifying than spiders. And I swear this thing needed a nerf.
Anomalocaris is an animal that probably could have reached 1.5 to 2 meters in length.
Even in the Cambrian period, if that saw-like mouth wasn't enough, evolution decided to give this beast HD vision. As soon as prey spotted this monster, they would often go into hiding underneath rocks and other objects, but the Anomalocaris' vision was so sharp and powerful that it could spot prey even in the dim and murky waters of the Cambrian Sea. Plus, its eyes were actually mounted on the stalks, giving the mad shrimp a wild field of vision. Oh, and let's not forget its crazy agility. Number 4. Surprising speed and agility. For a sea creature so brutal and unforgiving, you wouldn't imagine this beast was actually known as the gentle giant of the Cambrian. And the reason behind that is its segmented and elongated body. It had long, flexible flaps on each side, allowing it to gracefully float and maneuver with surprising speed and agility. All the flaps acted in union and propelled it forward, allowing it to stun its prey in a matter of seconds. And while the Anomalocaris might have been a gentle giant floating in the murky waters, I'd like to ask the tiny crustaceans how they felt about it. Also, is it just me, or does this look like the first phase in the evolution of Cthulhu? Number 5. The Cambrian explosion. I do think a lot of you have heard of this before. The Cambrian explosion was a period of time in Earth's rich history with rapid evolutionary development. It happened around 541 million years ago, and the Anomalocaris canadensis was a product of that rapid evolution. And that's one of the reasons why it was so overpowered for that time. It's logical as well, since almost every single period in history has had an apex predator. Like if we were to look at today's marine landscape, killer whales are without a doubt at the top of the list. So, the Anomalocaris canadensis was pretty much the killer whale or a killer shrimp of that age. But coming back to the point, this monster is a testament to the Cambrian explosion. All the diversity and complexity that emerged in this era can be witnessed in the Anomalocaris canadensis. Nature is pretty cruel though. Making such a dominant creature capable of destroying an entire ecosystem with no known rivals is kind of unfair. But in a way, its ecosystem dominance was beneficial at that time. The Anomalocaris canadensis played a crucial role in maintaining balance in the Cambrian period. Believe it or not, it actually helped control the population of all the trilobites and smaller arthropods as well. Just think about it. If there wasn't an apex predator roaming the murky waters at that time, the entire food web would have been disturbed. The population of smaller creatures would have stripped the ocean dry of all nutrients and available vegetation. So, even though the Anomalocaris canadensis seems like a monstrous creature causing havoc in the period, it was actually meant to exist to ensure a balance. And honestly, that just makes the backstory so much more interesting. Like, not only was this creature too powerful for that age, but it was also necessary. It's like nature's perfect villain story. And wait till you hear about how this deadly creature stalks its prey. Number 6. Hunting techniques. I know you're probably wondering, how did this creature even catch its prey, despite being the largest thing in the sea? Well, if I had to summarize it in one word, I'd say patience. The Anomalocaris spent hours floating in water, getting closer and closer to its prey. And that's really interesting considering it had all the muscle needed to ambush smaller creatures, but it still preferred to stalk and creep up on its next meal without using too much energy. And because of that slim and slender body, it harnessed the currents of the ocean to move closer and closer.
And presumably used these grasping appendages to capture its prey, which might have been soft-bodied arthropods and worms and other kinds of animals.
That's when its mouthpiece came into use. You know, the literal saw attachment used to pull prey in and crush them to death. But yeah, it's still super interesting to see such a high level of sophistication in this creature. Because apart from just physical evolution, the Anomalocaris was much smarter than other species of that era. And remember what I said about this deadly monster being necessary to the ecosystem? Well, when you look at it this way, it all comes together. If this creature wasn't present, or let me rephrase that, if this evil shrimp wasn't this powerful, the ocean would have eventually died out. And these aren't just assumptions or anything. Remember what I was telling you about the Rocky Mountains being the most famous place for well-preserved fossils? Scientists found such a detailed fossil that they were able to understand this creature's behavior and anatomy. Number 7. Amazing fossil evidence. The well-preserved fossils of the Anomalocaris found in the Burgess Shale have changed everything we know about the Cambrian period. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of scientists previously thought it was impossible for such a large predator to exist during that period. And I don't blame them either. I mean, there was no fossil proof to prove that an animal like the Anomalocaris might have existed back then. But the fossil evidence discovered near the Rocky Mountain is extremely detailed. All the early interpretations of Anomalocaris fossils discovered were met with controversy and skepticism. But we know for a fact now that a complex apex predator indeed existed in that period. And boy, was it fearsome. And the reason why I talk about the amazing fossil evidence is because it's helped us reconstruct the ancient Anomalocaris. We're actually able to visualize how this creature behaved in the ancient oceans. So, thanks to tech, but more importantly, thanks to the extremely well-preserved fossils, these animations you're seeing right now are what this beast actually looked like 500 million years back. Number 8. Pop culture star. There's no denying the Anomalocaris has captured the imagination of the public. It has starred in documentaries, books, and even video game, all thanks to its unique and terrifying appearance. But it doesn't end there. This hellish creature has actually sparked a huge debate. Imagine what else might have been in the ocean at that time. We know that this apex predator was the biggest, baddest, and meanest marine creature of that time. But what if scientists are wrong? What if there's something that was even bigger than the Anomalocaris? And I'll get to this in a bit, but did you know the mad shrimp has no direct descendants? I mean, extinction definitely isn't off the table, but what if something more terrifying killed every single one of the Anomalocaris? It's highly possible, considering there's nothing, literally nothing, that even comes close to resembling this once terrifying beast. Scientists have doubled down their efforts to uncover the mystery surrounding this mad shrimp to figure out what really happened. Because when you think about it, how does an apex predator, something on top of the food chain, just randomly go missing with no descendants? Plus, let's not forget that food was in abundance for this creature as well. So it's obvious they didn't just die out or anything. Was there something that killed this horror creature? Let's see if scientists are able to come up with an explanation. Number 9. Evolved descendants. This might be a crazy theory, but just hear me out for a second. You know how I was talking about killer whales earlier? They're sort of like the Anomalocaris. And I don't mean in terms of shape and whatnot. I'm talking about overall dominance. Are there bigger creatures than killer whales in the ocean? Yep. But would they ever want to go head-on with one? Never. So, while the Anomalocaris may not have any direct descendants, it does have a lot of modern comparison. Aside from orcas, great white sharks, and numerous other species of shark, are all top predators that roam our great oceans today. But let's get back to that crazy theory I was going to tell you about. What if these sharks and whales are the descendants? What if there's a piece in the puzzle we've yet to uncover? Maybe something bigger came along and started killing the Anomalocaris, forcing nature to speed up their evolution. What if they became bigger and chunkier to ward off the new threat? They do say that whales evolved from land mammals, but what if there's something else going on here? I mean, science has literally confirmed that hippos are the closest living relatives of whales, and they have nothing in common. And what's crazy is they're not even related in any way, shape, or form. But get ready for the buzzkill. What are the closest living relatives of the Anomalocaris? Any guesses? Worms and insects. Yep, I don't know though. I refuse to believe that an apex predator would just vanish from the face of the Earth without any dangerous descendants. Let's see. Maybe scientists are able to connect the dots and realize that there is indeed something in our ocean that lives on. But as of right now, we have no idea how these creatures went extinct. Scientists believe that the glaciation and low temperatures reduced the global sea levels, sending all marine animals to certain death. And if that really is this case, it kind of sucks how a murderer like the Anomalocaris died because of cold temperature. Number 10. Not too different. I've pretty much just glorified the Anomalocaris for being this insane predator causing chaos in the Cambrian period, but I'll let you in on a little secret. Despite being significantly overpowered, the mad shrimp wasn't so different. In fact, if we look at all the different marine creatures that existed back in the Cambrian period, you'll come to realize how it was the same thing, just bigger and badder. Almost everything back then was just an insect. And for extinct creatures that do have direct descendants, most of them are, you guessed it, insect. So, it's possible the Anomalocaris has a direct descendant, and it's hiding out in our houses at this very moment. The only difference is, it's just a small worm or an insect running around, living its life in the shadows. So, what was once a true killer of the ocean has now evolved into a not-so-scary creature, nowhere near the greatness of its ancestors. But anyway, enough of the crazy ancient predator. Let's talk about some other beasts of the past that have left scientists in a frenzy. Number 11. Hallucigenia's clawed secret. I'd like to apologize for the nightmares you're going to have in advance, and just talking about this is making me feel itchy all over my body. It's like a worm, but it's so bizarre that it has spikes and clawed appendages. Despite its scary appearance though, this tiny creature was actually very goofy. Believe it or not, the fossil remains of this bizarre-looking worm had a goofy smile on the mouth. But yeah, 2 rows of legs? It's like this worm could never be upside down. If you were to flip it around, it'd still be upright because it had legs on both sides of its body. But what happened to this freaky creature? Well, despite looking like the bug from hell, it unfortunately couldn't compete with all the other marine creatures of that period, thankfully. Number 12. The Tully monster. Don't let names fool you, folks. The Tully monster wasn't exactly a monster. It was a boneless vertebrate that existed around 300 million years ago, back in the Pennsylvanian period. And despite being discovered nearly 60 years ago,
the main body also seems to have been segmented, and potential gills, as well as a possible notochord, have also been interpreted from the fossils according to some researchers.
Scientists still have no clue what this thing was. We don't even know what it ate. Now, some scientists do believe the Tully monster was a carnivore, but a hunter. Not too sure about that. At best, this thing was probably a scavenger, but if I had to define it in just one line, I'd probably say it's an ancestor of the mouthless jellyfish. And the reason why I called it boneless earlier is because all fossils of the Tully monster show no bone. Terrifying? Not so much. A prehistoric enigma? Definitely. Number 13. Genuanlong-Suni. Remember when we first found out chickens were the closest living relatives to the T-Rex? That was hard to digest. What was once a magnificent beast that ruled the land has a modern-day cousin who's just a chicken.
Made up of quill pen feathers, just like an eagle or a vulture.
That's a pretty bad nerf. But the Genuanlong-Suni will probably help you understand why they're such close descendants. See, despite all the Jurassic Park movies we've seen, dinosaurs didn't really look like that. They didn't sound too scary either. They had feathers, and the Genuanlong-Suni's fossils were so well preserved that you could actually see it. This feathery discovery helped scientists a lot in understanding the link between dinosaurs and birds. Oh, and it also sparked a lot of controversy about flight. Nevertheless, it's crazy to see how evolution nerfed such marvelous beasts into tiny, colorful birds. So, the next time you're having a chicken sandwich, don't forget that's a T-Rex's relative you're munching on. Number 14. The giant sea scorpion. If you thought I was done with all the terrifying monsters of the prehistoric age, think again. We got ourselves here Pentacopterus, aka the giant sea scorpion. This massive scorpion lived during the same time as the mad shrimp. But here's the scary bit. This scorpion could grow to almost 6 feet. Bruh. I cannot tell you how glad I am that this giant scorpion went extinct. If scorpions weren't already terrifying enough, imagine being on the lookout for one that's 6 feet big. It's one of the largest known eurypterids ever. It was a formidable predator of that time, scoring high points nearly at the top of the food chain. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you about the massive head shield as well. It's like this ungodly creature was built to destroy prey. Number 15, the first ever sharks. I'm sure you've seen that post on social media about a shark that's been haunting our oceans for nearly 600 years now. Well, get ready to meet its founding fathers, the Doliodus problematicus. Straight off the bat, you can tell this guy is a problem. I mean, it's literally in the name. But yeah, it's the first shark ever, and scientists believe all other shark species have evolved from it. What's funny is, it's classified as the least shark-like shark ever. And what that basically means is, despite all sharks being direct descendants of the Doliodus problematicus, it looks nothing like an actual shark. Here's a fun fact about sharks though. The oldest shark species outdate everything. Dinosaurs, the first plants, our mad shrimp, you name it. They're the oldest living predators to ever inhabit our Earth. Number 16, the giant rhino of ancient Pakistan. Rhinos are cool, and while it sucks how most of the living species are near extinction, let's talk about the magnificent giant rhino of ancient Pakistan. Even back then, when large animals were nothing special, the Paraceratherium was an apex. It was built like an absolute unit, and if you ask me, all other land mammals are lucky this beast wasn't a carnivore. But despite munching on plants all day long, no other predator even dared to go near this monster. Oh, and unlike modern rhinos, the Paraceratherium didn't have any horn. And that brings us to the next question. If it had no horn, how did it even defend itself? Simple. Its sheer strength and size were enough to scare off any predators looking for a beefy bite. But just how big was this massive creature? Prepare to be blown away. The giant rhino from Pakistan stood 16 feet tall and weighed around 30 to 40 tons. Now that's just mind-blowing. Number 17, the king lizard. Godzilla might not be real, but the Basilosaurus certainly is. And if you thought snakes and lizards were terrifying, you're in for a real surprise. Meet the Basilosaurus, more commonly known as the king lizard. This beast was massive, and I don't mean 20 or 30 feet. No, sir. This whale could grow up to 50 to 60 feet in length, with a weight of around 10 tons. It had an elongated body that closely resembled a snake, and that's where all the Loch Ness Monster theories spring from as well. If we humans were to ever see this thing live in action, I'm pretty sure we'd spend the rest of our lives living in fear. It's like a giant sea serpent, sparing nothing in its path. And this whale wasn't at the top of the food chain. It was the food chain, folks. Nothing, and I mean nothing, came close to challenging its dominance in the marine world. But yeah, let's take a moment to thank God this thing went extinct, because it's the stuff of nightmares. Number 18, Megalodon. How could I forget the Megalodon? I bet a lot of you were waiting for this one. This shark is so famous that Hollywood still can't stop making movies about it. And why wouldn't they? It was an absolute monster, reaching lengths of up to 60 feet long. The Megalodon weighed around 10 tons, with a deadly bite force of around 40,000 pounds per square inch. It could open its jaw up to 6 feet, capable of swallowing an entire human with ease. And don't even get me started about the teeth. 7-inch blades capable of cutting through the strongest armor any other marine creature may have. When this thing was alive, being a marine animal must have sucked, because the Megalodon literally ruled the sea. And much like the Anomalocaris, this prehistoric shark had no known predators. Number 19, Kronosaurus. Imagine being such a badass animal that you're named after the Greek titan Kronos, and rightly so. The Kronosaurus was a large pliosaur that lived during the early Cretaceous period, and while it wasn't as big as some of the other giant marine predators we've discussed, it still grew up to around 35 feet in length. But size doesn't really matter when you have a thick skull that could be up to 9 feet. Why the thick skull though? to house all those deadly sharp teeth. The Kronosaurus was so strong that it could literally bite through turtle shells and other armored prey. Number 20. Survival of the fittest. Meet Mosasaurus, a rival of the Kronosaurus. It just goes to show how brutal nature was back in the prehistoric days. Even as a massive marine giant, you weren't safe. But these creatures usually avoided locking heads, and instead, they pretty much wiped each other through competition. What does that even mean, though? Well, look at it this way. These giants were in such large numbers that they cleared up entire areas and ultimately had to fight each other for food. What a crazy way to disappear from Earth. Anyway, that's it from our side, folks. So, what do you think? Did you have the slightest clue a shrimp could be an apex predator? And what are some of your favorite discoveries from prehistoric Earth? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more interesting videos in the future.